Welcome back, Alvin Chef's APGAINS. We will talk about the Elrond kit at the end of the video. I'm going to assume all of you guys have read it. If you haven't, stay tuned. We'll go through it really quickly at the very end of the video. But we're going to talk about what it actually means for the game. We're going to talk mostly from a free-to-play perspective. So not from the viewpoint of the main account, but rather the two free-to-play accounts we're running. And then, of course, all of the people we have who are testing various farming strategies and stuff like that. How this is going to affect everyone. So if you've farmed this, how is it going to affect you versus if you've done this, how is it going to affect you? Talk about all that stuff. Talked about, obviously, power creep, the future of the game, raids, inter-guild PvP, inter-player PvP, and all that stuff, and how this kind of shapes the future of Heroes of Middle-earth. So like I said, I'll go over all this stuff at the end here. Really quickly, there was some mix-up about Elrond. I don't remember where it was. I think it actually is this glitch thing right here, maybe. Never mind. There was this concern that Elrond would only be unlocked during the Elrond event, meaning that you had to have Leliel, as opposed to what most people are doing is getting Elrohir, Lomian, Nimiri, Arwen, and then Elrond. Obviously, that's kind of a whale approach, but this is a whale character, so you're not going to get it if you're free to play. We will have a video tomorrow talking about how you can best prepare for this as a free-to-play player for when it comes back around in 3 to 6 months, and of course, when this goes live at 8 a.m. Pacific, the 26th. We will already be streaming a little bit before that, so make sure to hop on by. We're going to do, obviously, low gear unlock and testing to make sure that we can figure out what the lowest possible investment there is to get him, so that in 3 to 6 months when the free-to-play players come back around, you guys will have a guide of not only how to do it, but what gear, what level, what ability levels, and stuff like that you have to invest so that you aren't wasting resources where you don't have to. And obviously, for every future legendary, that will be the same thing as well. Let's start with power creep. Obviously, we'll talk about his kit at the end. It's very strong. I'm just going to leave it at that for right now. It's very strong, and it definitely punches up as far as total GP is concerned. Well, I guess it's not GP because it's in Galaxy of Heroes. CP? No, but that's something that will send you to jail for a long time. So I'm just going to call it power. We're just going to call it general power. RP, ring power, who knows? He's definitely a character that's going to punch up, and we theorized definitely before we even got Arwen or Elrond that this is going to be a team that was going to be synergy over gear. They're still playing into the meta of AoEs a little bit. There's two big AoEs in Elrond and Elrond, which are definitely going to carry the brunt of the offense outside of, Lomian's single target damage and Arwen's dispels and some strategic damage and stuff like that. But definitely a team that's going to excel at longevity. So a lot of people have theorized that this is going to be a good raid team for certain phases. It doesn't do a ton of single fire damage. So what I'm imagining is it'll be good for 2 of the 4 phases when the raid comes out. And then it's going to be a couple of raid cycles before we get our Nazgul up and running, who will be higher single fire damage targets, high single fire target damage, or whatever the fuck I was going to say, that are going to be more for the troll and the Balrog and stuff like that. So you can, over time, build up a complete team that's going to do this. Because obviously, if they gave us the raid right away and you were able to dominate every phase of it, with what's in the game, that would be laughable because there's nothing in the game right now. There's no real teams. This is the first real team that exists. I imagine Haradrim, and then a couple of later, maybe 6 to 8 to 12 months later, we're going to have a pretty complete fellowship team, which is going to be, your Gimlis, your Legolases, your Gandalfs, and stuff like that. I do like the animations, however. I think they're kind of cool. I really hate the backgrounds of all of the maps and stuff like that, but I like how the water actually interacts with the background. It's pretty nice. So the power creep is real. I don't think the power creep is as bad as Galaxy of Heroes. Galaxy of Heroes has obviously been around for 7-ish years, so the power creep is going to be quite substantial compared to this, where everything's going to be a massive jump. Here, it's a noticeable jump, but I imagine that I would say, in aggregate, 1.5 gear levels up is probably the threshold. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a full Elrond 5-star gear 5 team, right? I imagine that the minimum that you're going to need to do to absolutely dominate this is to have everyone gear 6.5 on the opposing team. You're probably going to want to have some more dispels and some more high single fire target damage as well. But I imagine that's probably where it's going to start, just because, I guess we can go over the kit now. We're 5 minutes into the video. On basic, nothing too crazy. I'm just going to read the fully maxed out abilities because these are going to be more applicable, 6 months from now, and we don't want to play for what this is because this means nothing. This is kind of what we want to understand and interpret the power of characters from, because at a certain point, this is going to be what the characters are going to realistically look like. 170% damage. A lot of people have been making big, assumptions about this damage number. This doesn't really mean anything. What really matters is 170% of what? I said this to a client today. He was like, I'm getting a 40% discount on this thing, and I'm doing. And I said, 40% of what? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, 40% of what? What are you getting a 40% discount on? So 170%, or, they updated this. This used to be like 300%. Doesn't really mean anything until we know what his damage number is. Because if he's like top 5 damage and he's doing, 280% on an AoE, that's fucking crazy, obviously. But if he's like the 5th worst damage dealing, 280% is still... it's not terrible, but it's not going to be as good. So I wouldn't worry too much about what this percent damage is. I'd worry more about what his actual damage is. But he's not a damage character. Regeneration for 2 turns on basic to the most wounded squad member is going to be very nice. Mass heal for 15% of his max health. I hope he's a very healthy character. From the beta, he was sizably healthy as far as total health pool is concerned, so I imagine this is going to be by far the best heal in the game. Protective for 1 turn and 1 stack of regeneration, so a little bit more shielding from damage and a little bit more regeneration on their turn, which is going to be nice. We'll talk about why regeneration is going to be especially powerful in his kit, and it's not what you guys are thinking, and probably not what you guys have talked about or heard in the past. And then a revive, which is obviously the power creep here. This is going to be absolutely broken for a squad arena, or it's just called arena in this game, sorry. I imagine that when I unlock Elrond day 1, minute 1, or, well, I guess it's going to be a process. We're going to be grinding out low gear, so it should be a long event. Tons of fun. Make sure you guys show up. But I imagine we're going to be able to absolutely skyrocket arena levels. It should be pretty fun. Revive them with 65% of their max health. This used to be 70. They brought it down to 65. I'm not sure why. If there are no elf allies that are dead, instead you do the heal without the revive and you get 2 stamina back. And this is a stamina cost of 4, so 2 turns later you'd have the opportunity to do it again. So they talk about in strategy tips like, oh, you can do this to prevent people from dying, which is cool, I guess, but yeah, whatever. Special 2, this is the one that everyone's loving. Attack all enemies for 280% damage. Again, I don't know, 280% of what? And reduce their turn meter by 6% per boon on self, up to 5 boons, 30%. So this is why the regeneration is going to be really powerful, because right now, I'm sure you noticed that all of your arena battles are against people who are like eerily similar. Like it's a coin flip whether your Eothane goes first and taunts and gives turn meter to your Ironhide, or their Eothane goes first and gives turn meter to the Iron. You understand what I'm talking about. It's pretty tough. And regeneration is on turn, and if you can reduce even 6% turn meter, which is well within the margin of what your arena battles are going to be, all of your characters are going to go before their characters, allowing you to get, fucking 3-4 stacks of regeneration. I think regeneration is like, is it 5% or 15%? I actually don't know what the number is. I think it's somewhere between 5 and 15%. Obviously, those are massively different numbers. I get that, whatever. Let's move on. And inflict slow for 2 turns, which is going to prevent them from catching back up. This, like, more so than the mass, more so than the AoE damage, and the revive and all the healing, this is going to be the game breaker. Slowing your enemies is obviously going to be one thing, but reducing turn meter to make sure that you can take more turns before they can. You can get your, all your shit in order. You can do your heals. You can do your damage. You can take people out. This is going to break the arena meta, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. And then the passive, nothing too crazy. Heal the most wounded squad member for 7% of the character's mass health, and grant counterattack. Counterattack is very nice. First time they drop full 40%, gain 1 stack of Unbreakable for each Rivendell still alive. First time this character drops below 40% health, gain 1 stack of Unbreakable. So this is the same thing that they had in the beta kit, and the the AI kit, or whatever the fuck, the PvE character. Unbreakable is nice. Obviously, if you're going against going against an enemy R1 or stuff like that, there's going to be dispels. Unbreakable is nice, but it only really happens if he's already like super low. And if he gets it at 40% health, I mean, it's going to be a while before you go after this. Elrond's going to be taunting like a mother trucker. It's going to be annoying, but I don't foresee it being like an unbelievably massive like hindrance. Obviously, it's nice, but whatever. And then the leader, whenever a Rivendell squad member takes a turn and they have no Banes, they gain Fortitude, which is, I guess, nice. A lot of them have interactions with total number of Banes, I guess. Or I was thinking boons. This is actually debuffs. This is what I hate. I hate Banes and Boon. It's so stupid. Rivendell Squad Member Ally, if they have no Banes, gain Fortitude for 1 turn and extend the duration of their boons by of 2 of their boons by 1 turn. So that's nice. You get an extra regeneration. You get an extra defensive. You know, it's helpful. It's not amazing. But a lot of this kit is kind of like, it's amazing in aggregate. Like the totality of the kit is really where he shines. Elf Squad members gain plus 4% damage per boon on them, up to 5 stacks or 20% damage. This is going to really turn the tide. This is going to give you punch-up potential. This is fantastic. And Light Squad members gain 10% max health. This is also going to be fantastic for matchups. Now, this stuff is kind of mostly worthless. I will talk about, you know, you get them to 5 stars right here, and then, you know, obviously they're dumping the gold behind the 6 and 7 star. Don't expect me to go 6 and 7 because I'm not made of money. And even though I am spending money on the main account, everything I do is from a free-to-play perspective because I have the free-to-play accounts and I have all of you guys who are following the best free-to-play farming guide that we have just put out a couple days ago. So it's mostly just for research, and most people free-to-play are not going to have a 7-star Elrond anytime soon. I won't have a 7-star Elrond anytime soon, and I'm spending, you know, as little money as humanly possible, don't get me wrong, but just enough to make sure that I can actually unlock him day 1. But yeah, I mean, there's some power creep. The kit's nice. I think this is going to be the first punch-up potential. Is it going to be great in raids? There's not a ton of damage on the team, and raids are more about just doing either crazy turn meter manipulation against the boss, which I don't think is going to happen, or just doing a lot of really big damage really quickly. So I don't think it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be the best raid team, don't get me wrong, because all the other teams are kind of dog shit. There's not a ton of synergy in the game right now. But definitely as we approach guild PvE and PvP, with raids of PvE and then PvP, inner guild PvP, this is going to be fantastic. I imagine we're going to see walls of Elrond on the front zones when we do guild PvP. And I think it's just going to be a matter of who has more Elronds, because there's not really anything that's going to beat this. Actually, there might be, so look out for a video. Subscribe. Help us get to 28,000 subscribers by the end of June. There is potentially one thing that is going to counter this for free-to-play players, and I'll have a video on that soon, so make sure to subscribe. But if those other guilds don't really have access to that, there's going to be some struggles there. So all in all, he's good, fantastic. As always, I love you, and I'll see you later.